Shalom, everyone. The Torah tells us in this week's Torah portion that God remembers or accounts the sins of the fathers upon the children. Hoked avon avos al habanim. What does that mean? Does that mean that children are held accountable for the sins of their parents? Certainly not. We know that we are responsible for our own behavior, and God accounts it for what we do, not for what others do, even our own parents. So, what does it mean that God visits the sins of the parents upon the children? So, there are two different opinions in Jewish tradition. One opinion says that indeed children are affected by the sins of the parents. That if your parents act in a certain way, very possibly you will also. For example, if parents are abusers, they have abused each other or abused their children, it's very possible that the children will become abusers as well. If the parents are thieves, then it's very possible that the children will be thieves also. We find this with gamblers, that that if the parents are gamblers, very often the children will become gamblers as well. Just as we inherit many of the diseases of our parents, then it's very possible that we could inherit their behavior as well. And unfortunately, we find that that sometimes takes place. That is not to say that children can't break out of that and improve and not be their parents. And I have met many children who have said, I work very hard not to be like my father, not to be like my mother, but very often they end up being like their parents. And it takes a great deal of effort to break through that. The other opinion is that the children are affected, that children can affect the parents' sins by correcting them. That children have the ability, either in this world or in the netherworld, in the next world, to affect the sins of the parents. And how does that work out? When a child says Kaddish for their father or their mother, when a child has good behavior, God accounts it to the parents and says, well, even though the parents were not such nice people, but take a look at what a fine son or a fine daughter they have. And this creates a good accounting in heaven for the parents. And that's one of the reasons why we go to a Shiva house and we study Torah in a Shiva house, because God looks at the children who are mourning for their parents and says, take a look. Here they're sitting and they're studying Torah and they're praying together. So the parents must have been very, very special people. So children can affect the sins of the parents. Children can correct both in this world by showing the parents what the right behavior is, and the parents can correct their behavior by looking at the children. Very often we find that a parent can be completely non observant, and remarkably, they have a child who becomes observant, what we call a Baal Tshuva. And the child realizes that Judaism is the best way to go, and they can actually bring back their parent to an observant lifestyle. And I've seen this happen many, many times, where the parents are very affected by the children's very good behavior, and the parents wish to correct their own behavior because of the children. So we see that indeed the sins of the parents can be corrected, can be affected, or they can affect the children in a negative way. And this should be a very important lesson to all parents, that the way they behave can affect their own children. If they want good children, they have to behave in a proper manner themselves. I remember one time I was talking to my wife about something, and my one of my younger children, who must have been about 4 or 5 years old, spoke up and mentioned something about this thing that we were talking about. And I said, "How did you know that?" And she said, "I listen, because they all listen. They watch and they listen, and they can tell what we are doing. We may not think they are, but they really are. They are." One time we went to see the Ice Capades at the sports arena many, many years ago. And I took 4 or 5 of my children there to the Ice Capades. and it said on the counter of the ticket counter that the price for someone is a certain price. Under 12 is another price, see, a much less price. So some of my children who were over 12 looked like they were under 12. So we approached the ticket counter, and one of my children who was older said, Daddy, you know what? I think I can pass for under 12 and you'll save a few dollars. And I looked at her and I said, it's not worth it. What I'm going to save in money, I'm going to lose in respect and in values. It wasn't worth it. Tell the truth, and they will see that we are telling the truth. Be honest, and they will see that we are honest, and they will become honest and truthful themselves. Shabbos in San Diego this week is at 5:19. Shabbat Shalom.